Good. Oh, fairy dust, crispy. We're back. And we're back again.
Welcome back. Yeah.
That's that Mace record.
Yeah, I don't know.
The 2000s.
Nice. It was good.
Take that.
Good time.
Yeah, man. So we are back once again. But first, let me do what I do about this time of day. My name is Charles Bourgeois. I am the people's champ. Kissing babies and shaking hands, or shaking babies and kissing hands. Whatever gets the job done. I'm with my man here.
Brother Nkosi. Now y'all know, quick introduction. I am Nkosi. Now nods itself inside to liberate the spirits, minds, bodies, and pockets of my people. All right, guys, y'all know the main goal of the podcast is to get the self-hate out of our people and replace it with love. But let's go into the episode.
I like this lot of energy you got today.
Yes.
That's good. I'm going to have to work on a better title, man, because mine is just kissing hands and shaking babies. I'm going to work on something better.
It's an inside joke.
Next episode.
It's an inside joke. So it's
topic of the day is driving while black.
Driving while black.
Yeah, man. Molly's in the studio today, and she's got some sound effects.
Shout out to Molly.
Here we go.
Thanks for coming through. My day one.
So Molly's in the building, making sure we're getting taking care of our crossing T's and dotting I's, and we're happy to jump in today. Driving while black. A lot of good stuff in this episode. I'm excited to talk about this because this is one of those terms, one of those vernacular terms, DWB. I've been caught DWB a few times. I don't know about you.
They get me all the time.
They get you all the time. What does that mean?
I know how to talk my way out the situation.
Yeah, you gotta code switch. But we'll talk about that
racial
next episode.
profiling is a real
Racial
thing.
profiling is real. But before we jump into
but sometimes you be having some minor infractions, to be honest.
Who me?
No, I'm talking about myself.
Oh yeah, my
not
driver,
me though. I'm just saying people.
My drive record is clean. I am perfect. I am nice and crispy. You know what I'm saying? Ooh, I like that. That's how my driving record sounds. When the cops look me up, they be like, and they just hit the sound effect one more time. When it hits there, we're like, "Ooh, this guy, let him go. You're free to leave, sir." But no, before we jump into that, we got to talk about my favorite segment of the day, which is what had happened was. And so, can you believe it? We got something interesting to talk about today. You know what this is, right? What had happened is the WBC expels Ryan Garcia after racial slurs in an online podcast or just a live stream. Have you heard about this?
A little bit, but you could tell me some more. What did you say?
So it's pretty crazy. So the boxing organization, the WBC, and he recently just beat Devin Haney, I believe his name is, and he ended up winning, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So essentially, this is crazy. So Ryan Garcia, if you guys know him, he's actually been pretty high profile in the news lately, and he actually repeatedly got on the internet and was using racial slurs against black people and, quote, disparaged Muslims in his comments on a live stream on social media. So I'm actually confused because
he probably one of them dudes who think all Muslims are terrorists. You know?
That would be stereotypes. He is one of those guys that has a lot of terrible stereotypes. But this is actually really funny, right? So let me tell you, I'm first going to tell you what the WBC did in the president's, what the president said, Mauricio Solomon, and then tell you actually what Ryan Garcia said. It's actually pretty funny. So the WBC president says, quote, and I'm reading this, "We reject any form of discrimination. I fear for Ryan and his well-being. He has declined multiple attempts for help with mental health and substance abuse." So they're trying to clean this up because Ryan Garcia is wild, man.
Funny.
No. So let me give you exactly what Ryan Garcia said or got into, right? So, and these are tweets I'm reading. He got on the internet.
On X.
Yeah, on X. Ryan Garcia got on the internet, spoke some wild shit about niggas, right? And then after he spoke some wild shit about niggas and Muslims, he gets on Twitter and goes on a Twitter rant, and it's 5 entries I'm going to read. It's pretty
he went
crazy
after
here.
a whole race and a religion.
And once again, now I'm reading these tweets from Ryan Garcia. "I love niggas."
He looked like he loved niggas.
"Black can't be racist." Okay. Look, "I've seen babies being eaten, and y'all think I'm okay?" Next
you
one.
not
Next
okay.
one. Next one. So a black man raped me, and it's okay. And everyone act like it never happened.
He looked like he got raped by a black man.
Man, listen.
You gotta put that picture
then
up.
look. Then the final tweet of the rant was, y'all. So, on a crazy note, right? He ends up getting a bunch of backlash about talking about maybe he wants to be in. I'm not really too sure, but the thing that's interesting is that he's doing all of these things and not really sure what the consequence is going to be. So the crazy part about this is that
He's like a hurt boy or something.
he's super hurt. What had happened was of the day on this is that Ryan Garcia ends up getting suspended for a year. So he's got to sit down for 1 year after making crazy statements on the internet talking about he loves niggas.
You're in jail, prison.
He's in boxing jail.
Oh.
He's in boxing jail for a year. So you won't see too much of him. And it's actually funny because they said this is, call it retroactive from the decision against Devin Haney and his win. It was actually overturned no contest because they found there's steroids or PEDs in his bloodstream. So he's not having a good year. But, you know, that's what happened was, I don't know, Ryan Garcia needs to figure it out because he gets on the internet and says, I was f***ed in the ass by a man, and everyone thinks I'm okay.
You're a loser, bro.
Duh, you're being really critical. What if that really happened?
Oh, I mean,
He
get
says
it together,
really,
man. Get some help. Seek a physical therapist. Do some yoga.
You saw what the president said.
Drink some water or something. Go pray.
He does need to pray. But anyway, that is the what had happened was of the day. Ryan Garcia, I hope you get the help you need, man, and you get back to boxing because we will not see you fight for a year. So that's that. That's the what had happened was of the day. So
Deuces.
To jump into it, man, we're gonna get into this driving while black, and
Skirt.
oh my god,
Skirt.
that's why you be getting pulled over.
Skirt.
That's why. Oh, Molly's killing you right now. So listen, driving while black, the phrase, and I'm going to do a little bit of some background on it. The phrase driving while black, essentially, if you guys don't know, everyone in this audience probably knows because this is something that we're no strangers to.
I mean, look at our skin.
Oh my goodness,
It's
yes.
not that complicated.
So, I mean, that's true when you say that because driving while black has been around since the existence of cars. So when
Right.
Ford made the first car, the very first nigga that bought a Ford and got in the car, he was driving while black.
Yeah.
Right? And so the details on this is driving while black is really just when you get in the car and you go down the street and bust a left and bust a right, the cops are going to pull you over because they saw a black man was driving. It's unfortunate, but it's our reality today.
What kind of cars black people like to drive? I know they like Impala. Y'all know the old school Impalas with the rims from back in the day? All y'all 90s babies know what I'm talking about. Like,
So it's funny.
they was always tan, too. Like, I don't
It
know why
was
they
always
was
tan, gray, blue. The paint was always faded. Well, I'm glad you asked because I actually happen to have the top 5 blackest cars in America.
Shit.
And when we say the blackest cars, the top 5 blackest, I'm not talking about like the paint job. I'm talking about like these are the 5 most purchased cars of African Americans in America. And this is
It's all we could afford.
oh my, it is a little bit of that based on the list that I got here. It's actually kind of funny. So this list is circa 2018. So it's a little outdated, but for the most part in the trend, it's pretty accurate knowing that these are the cars that niggas be riding around in. So
Black
we're going to start from the bottom. We're going to start from
Well, it do be some niggas in them cars.
be in these cars.
That's an accurate
So
statement.
the 5th blackest car in America, Nissan Altima.
Oh, they be having memes for that one. Y'all know how they be like, I be skirt. I be
Right,
like,
right.
damn.
Let's get a round of applause for Nissan.
My mama had one. Straight up.
That's the 5th most blackest car. The 4th most blackest car,
Is it
Ford Mustang.
really?
Yeah, really. Yeah. And it's funny because when we have this list, these are not the 5 most stereotyped black cars. These are the 5 most purchased cars for niggas in America. Let's call it, in the beginning portion of the 21st century.
They be getting them from auctions though.
I mean, this is what I'm saying. The 5 most blackest cars. It may not be the color black, but the most is riding these cars. Okay. So 5, Nissan Altima. 4, Ford Mustang. Coming in at number 3, I thought it was going to be a lot higher on the list, Chevy Impala. We got to give a round of applause for Chevy Impala.
Chevy.
Chevy. That's the number 3. And
Back in the day, wasn't that like a Texas car too with the Texas
that was
songs?
a Texas swing and the Impala slab. That
You
was,
from
that
Houston,
was a
ain't
whole
you?
movement. Yeah, we still sold a lot. I'm from Texas.
Yeah.
So a lot of Impalas in Texas. In Georgia, in the South, really niggas in the South rode Impalas for a long time. The 96 Impala with the SS and the tail light swerving.
With that bright red light on the back. I don't know why that light was so...
That's actually a cop car. Actually, it's ironic that that's the third. Yeah. The Impala's a cop car. It's actually pretty
And
ironic.
then they end up in the cop car from a cop
from
car.
From an Impala to Impala?
Basically.
So, number 2. Drum roll, please. Can we get it? Do we have it? That's kind of all right.
Technical difficulty. It happens sometimes.
The number 2 most blackest car in America.
It gotta be a Honda, ain't it?
The number 2 blackest car in America is a Honda Accord.
Unreliable.
Unreliable.
He gonna get you to A to B.
Every nigga has a Honda Accord.
Straight up, like they gonna ride for about 400,000
and
miles.
that is why those are the top 2. And the number 1 most blackest car.
But like you see how like the Honda Accord, like the carpet be coming up and stuff.
Yeah, it's because
like,
you ride them for 400,000 miles.
It be like it be tan, but it be like red.
I feel like every nigga has had a Honda Accord. Have you had a Honda Accord? I had a Honda. Every
black man though. So
every black man or woman has had a Honda Accord.
Okay.
Molly, have you had a Honda Accord? No, I had a Honda. You had a what? That's not on the list. Number 1. Coming in at number 1. You were not racially profiled. Coming in at number 1. The blackest car in America going into the 21st century since the beginning of cars. Toyota Camry.
I forgot about that.
Honestly. Toyota Camry is the blackest car. And once again, now, these are not the most stereotyped. Because the most stereotyped black cars would be like BMW, Cadillac, Chevy DeVille. It would be like an outrageous list. Old Mercedes. But this is not what this is. This is the most purchased nigga cars in America. Coming in number 1, Toyota Camry. Number 2, Honda Accord. Number 3, Chevy Impala. Ford Mustang. Number 4, and the 5th most blackest car in America is the Nissan Altima.
That was a quite interesting list.
Interesting, but it's interesting in that though because what that speaks to is a little bit about the racial profiling, but what it actually speaks to is the crux or the center core of middle America, middle income, and black Americans can only afford at macro level, at scale, a certain type of car and a quality of car. And what we realized from this list is...
I think we moved from the middle America to like lower middle class.
Well, I mean, even lower middle class. We're going to get cars that are reliable. So when you get into the context of what is a stereotype versus what is actuality, you might be like, oh, every nigga got a Challenger. No, every nigga has a Toyota Camry. They don't all have Challengers. So I think it's interesting you talk about it and you want to talk about what are the blackest cars or the cars that black people actually have the most.
Challenger a cop car too.
Challenger is a cop car, from a Challenger to a Challenger. It's unfortunate. But this term, right, driving while black, came to prominence in the 1990s with a Supreme Court court case called Wren versus United States. And Wren versus United States essentially is a Supreme Court decision as precedents on the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment essentially is unlawful search and seizure. So the unlawful search and seizure ends up getting overturned, not necessarily overturned, but it's a precedent that says, and I'm going to quote here, this unanimous court decision, Wren versus United States, declares that any traffic offense committed by a driver is a legitimate basis for a stop. So what that does, getting into the 90s when this term driving while black starts and populates in mainstream and becomes discourse and rhetoric, what we're saying is at any time when you're driving, for any reason, when you're getting your Honda Accord or your Chevy Malibu or your Chevy Impala,
right?
You're getting into these black cars, right? That they all black driving these cars.
Ultimate.
If you make a left, make a right. If you swerve a little bit, if you do anything that could possibly even look like a traffic violation, the cops have the right to pull you over. That's why when they walk,
they can violate your Fourth Amendment.
Well, no. What we're saying is Fourth Amendment is unlawful search and seizure. This case, Wren versus United States, is a unanimous court decision that simply says any traffic offense that is committed by a driver will be a lawful right for the cop to stop you. So all that means is that if you roll the stop sign, if you swerve too hard, if you don't put your blinker on, if your tail lights are right, any minor infraction will get you pulled over. That's all that means.
Cracking your windshield.
Anything. Your tints are too dark. I actually was driving down here in Midtown, and it was the craziest thing. And I have tints in my car, whatever, but they're not anything crazy. So I'm driving in my car, and I don't have any of these cars. I'm driving a non-profiled from this list car, and I hit the light. I saw a cop behind me. I busted a right because I'm like, oh, I don't really want to follow me, so let me try to evade and shake. Nope. He busted a right tooth.
Evade and shake. Y'all hear that?
So
Try the evade and shake. If you
to
don't want to get pulled over while being black, evade and shake.
So I come down, I get to the second light, and I'm like, yo, I'm about to, you know that feeling? It's like, I'm about to get pulled over. And I'm like, oh, this is not good. I got to like sit up a little straighter.
Check your rear view mirror.
Check the rear view, make sure my seatbelt's on.
And you see him, and then you check it again, you be like.
Here's the crazy part. As soon as I was getting ready to bust that other right, because I was trying to make a circle, see if he's following me, of course, he pulls me over.
Got him.
I got him. So then I was like, I don't know what's the deal. So I automatically had my windows down because I already know the drill. I got over into a parking spot. I had my hands on the 10 and 2. He comes up to the dash and he says, sir, do you know why I stopped you? And I'm like, no, I have no idea, because I was a tax law abiding paying citizen. And you just pulled me over. He's like, oh, I pulled you over because your tints look a little too dark. And I was like, oh, these niggas out here profiling. These cops are out here copping. And so, crazy enough, he came up with his one partner on one window, cop on the other window, and he came by with one of those little tint readers.
Or the guns drawn?
No. It's
not this time.
Real mild. He came with a little tint reader, and it's funny because I had my windows down. So it's like, all right, whatever. He's like, oh, yeah, roll your windows up. I saw you had tint. So I roll them up halfway. He puts the little tint reader. He taps it, and I say to him, "Hey man, these are factory tints, so they're gonna be legal. It's whatever Mercedes said." And he's like, all right, get out of here. Have a nice day." You know, I'm like, yeah, because what's the deal? But I literally got pulled over for nothing, and then we got there. He was like, "Let me just try to say something about the tints," because that was a way he felt like. He wanted to see what I had going on, because once the cop pulls you over...
No probable cause.
Well, that's the thing. Once the cop pulls you over, he's got to give you an excuse, or he's got to make up a reason why he stopped you, and that's what that Supreme Court's about. That's why it's driving while black. So I was DWB'd on the side of the street. If I would have had any kind of contraband or anything he didn't like in his view, then he would have been like, oh, step out the car, then I got my car searched. So it becomes a slippery slope, and when you get pulled over by the police, black people, y'all got to be on y'all P's and Q's.
And with that being said, I want to offer up some tips for everybody when you get pulled over.
Are you a lawyer?
I'm not, so I'm gonna actually read out a disclaimer. Nothing I am saying should be nothing I am saying should be considered legal advice, and you should consult your attorney to what's best that works best in your state.
AKA, don't listen to it.
So this is Nkosi's police protocol,
with
right?
a grain of salt.
So I'm gonna go high level, then I'm gonna go into it, right?
Uh-huh.
So the first thing you want to do is do a greeting. Then you want to have your ID in your hand.
You know what? Let's.
Hey.
Can we roll? I'm gonna be the cop. I'm gonna be the cop. Let's roll. I'm gonna be the cop. Wee.
Nah, shit. They got me again.
Wee.
Look about 3 times. Ah, man. You put the thing in.
Pull over. Pull over. Where are you going?
Man. All right, let me pull over. All right, guys. Secret tip. I keep my ID in my cup holder. So right now, I'm gonna get the ID and put it in my hand.
That is so. People are gonna have their ID in their wallet, bro. Anyway.
What you want?
That's you. You know why I stopped you today?
You want me to roll down the window?
Yeah, that's what this was about.
Hey,
so,
all right, secret tip. Crack it just enough where they feel safe.
It's not secret tips. Can you roll the window down more?
Yes, sir.
Right. These are not secrets. You know why I pulled you over today?
No, sir.
I pulled you over because you swerved in the lane. Let me see your license and registration.
Officer, I have my license in my hand right here on your steering wheel. You're supposed to have your hands on the steering wheel right now with your ID.
Already have it already ready.
Officer, may I hand you my license?
Yeah. Stop being scared. You ain't nothing to be scared about, do you?
This is when you feel uncomfortable. No, sir. That's when you go in.
All right, thanks. I'm gonna run and give you a ticket anyway. Here's your ticket.
He didn't ask me any additional questions. So after they tell you the probable cause, look, it's a cool statement that I do. I be like, if it's your intention to question, detain, or arrest me, I like to call my attorney immediately.
Wait, slow that down for all the regular eared folk in America.
If it's your intention to question, detain, or arrest me, I like to speak to my attorney immediately. And at that point, they have to legally let you talk to your attorney, and they have to break away.
That's a good tip.
And so then, just knowing your rights and understanding the Miranda rights, How the Miranda rights go again? I haven't said in a while.
Oh, wait, before we go too far into this, I want to back it up because, I like to get into where does this come from? What is the history? So before we jump too far down
I actually called my lawyer too,
this guy. Before we get too far down the corrupt cop or the intentions of cops or cops in itself, I'm going to talk a little bit about how they started, what the root words are. So police, which is spelled P-O-L-I-S, right, is the Greek word for city or...
Wait, how you spell police?
The Greek version where police comes from is P-O-L-I-S. That's the Greek root word for police is police with an S.
Okay.
And that is it stands for city or polity by way of policia, and that's a Latin for citizenship. And I'm saying that to you because the original terms of the police, right, enters from London or England, English, and then really turns over to what a constable becomes. It's not necessarily of government, but a constable is someone whom is enforcing the law, and it's someone whom is referred to then as a cop. So the term cop was created for a constable on patrol. And this is way back where these terms come from.
We could have kept
No. I'm going to tell you, but I'm going to tell you why that's important. So the term constable on patrol is where we get cop from. Constable then comes from police, of the Latin air word of police, for to be the police. And what we're saying is in 1066, this is a very long, we're talking 1,000 years ago, right? The cops, the constables on patrol were brought into the New World to establish the 13 English colonies that eventually become America because they were
13 states on the East Coast.
Right, but this is why it's important. They were here, right, making sure that they kept the king's peace. So when you talk about what was the cop, where did the police come from? Really, what this really was the extension of the monarchy in America as the police, who are then known as constables, and the constables on patrols are the cops, and they're enforcing or keeping the peace of the king's law or the king's word.
So isn't it fair to say that the white British folks was oppressing like the poor whites, because that's what the Americans were, the poor whites. So they were oppressing them. And it was like, we're going to take y'all playbook, and now we're going to oppress the black people with the same thing.
Well, a lot of the roots of America, everyone knows, it comes from England. We celebrate the 4th of July. That's where it comes from. But I make that point to talk about cops, right? Talk about constables on patrol, to talk about how does it go from the king enforcing the king's peace or keeping the king's word up and making sure that the monarchy is in place. That happens in the revolution, because then all the founding fathers get together and they say, well, our revolution is democracy and now the law is king. So now the constables on patrol are enforcing the law and the law is king. So that's really where all this comes. When you talk about who is the police, where does the police come from, how do we have police today? It all started in England and came over here. They were enforced. It was the king's word, and then it becomes the law is king. And that's interesting to talk about because in America, we don't have kings, but the police have this idea where the law is the king. And even today, you have it where it's like, that's the law. That's not the law. I was just in New York. It was people smoking weed on the street. And I was like, hey, y'all just gonna smoke weed walking by the cops. They was like, it's illegal. And I was like, well, shit, the cops just enforce the law. So that's the thing where it's important, where it's like, the only reason why we can be caught driving while black is because the cops are enforcing the law, right? If you make a wrong left turn, guess what? I'm pulling you over. So that's really where it comes from and it goes. But the origins of police in America don't become modernized or organized until they are turned into slave catchers. So in America, the sheriff's department, the police department, the organization of modern day policing comes from slavery and slave patrol. And there's something interesting about that, because the number one problem that, let's call it the middle America or sharecroppers or white people, or call it the free democracy of, the King's English, those people who were coming over from England, establishing America, their number one problem in the 1700s and the 1800s was runaway slaves and slave rebellion. So the actual police was started as slave patrols, and this dates back to 1700s. By 1830, right, the Charleston Slave Patrol.
Now we're in America.
We're in America.
Kind of far.
But I did that so we can understand who are these cops and why are they even here? It's because they're here to serve the king and the king's word. But then once we get into America after 4th of July, now we're serving the law. The law is king, so now I got to serve the law. But the law doesn't really start to really kind of be enforced until niggas is running away, niggas is killing white folks, and it's like, oh, we gotta keep these in check, and it's the reason why I started
killing white folks because they're trying to get out of slavery.
Well, here's the thing though, right?
Clear.
I get it, but the reason why I say that, and I had to point out, we're upkeeping the king's word, then we're upkeeping the law, is because at that particular time, it was against the law for slaves to run away. It was against the law for slaves to kill their master. So that's when you talk about it, it's like, okay, it makes, for someone to say modern day policing comes from slavery and slave patrol, everyone's going to be outraged. Like, oh my God, how can you say that? But really, when you talk about upkeeping the law, at that particular time, it was illegal for slaves to run away. It was illegal for slaves to revolt. So the first modern day police organized structure were slave catchers. And that's crazy to think about. So, and it has a very eerie, like a paradox today, to be a black man, to be caught driving while black. Or black woman. And you get pulled over, and you think, well, they've been doing this since the invention of vehicle. They was driving while black on horses and carriages. You've been getting caught by the slave catcher, because that's what this really is about. And it's crazy because in 1830, the Charleston Slave Patrol had more than 100 officers in the police force, which is the biggest police force in the nation. Charleston, South Carolina. It was the biggest cop organized force. And in 1830, they had 100 officers. There are some small towns that don't have 100 officers. That is nuts. So to think like at the one point in time, the biggest police force in America was slave patrols in Charleston.
There's some towns that have 1 or 2 police officers that are part-time.
All they did was run around and catch all day.
Yeah.
So it's crazy though, but you talk about today, there's more than 700,000 police in the United States. That's about 2 for every 1,000 persons. Back to what we were talking about, right? The Fourth Amendment. So the core principle of the Fourth Amendment is essentially to stop anyone at any time
unreasonable search
from
and seizure.
Doing random illegal searches or searches and seizures that shouldn't happen. Like if you're walking down the street and I'm like, hey, you got on a black t-shirt, come over here, I know you up to no good, I'm gonna search you. That's what that is supposed to protect. But with that Wren versus United States, it essentially makes it free game for any cop at any time for anywhere. They can I'm pulling you over because your exhaust was too black. I was like, huh? That is against the code. It's a citation. You can get cited for not. You know how you have to have.
Yeah, like I got my emissions, bro. Like,
no,
your paperwork
and
good.
Here's the thing, and if you showed that emissions and it was out of date, guess what? Your ass is getting a ticket. It's crazy. That's really the DWB. But when we talk about it, like, what are those stats? Like, do you know what the stats are for DWB? Because I got them and they're interesting.
No.
You're so excited about that.
I'm waiting.
So black drivers account for 31% of motorists, but they received last year 58% of traffic tickets. Yikes! We're already off to the wrong foot. It's only a third of us are driving.
Wait, say that again.
Black drivers account for approximately 31% of motorists, but last year we received 58% of traffic tickets.
Sound about right.
You're so helpful, enthusiastic.
it's real.
And at that same notion, white drivers accounted for almost 50% of motorists, but they just received 36% of traffic tickets. So it gets a little interesting.
So our total number is double, and their total number is half.
Yep, and that's the variance here. The other thing too that I think is important is that blacks are 2.5 times more likely to be ticketed than whites.
I wonder why.
Well, let's talk about it, because I got some theories and reasons why, but I think it's interesting.
Oh, I got a story. Story time. So I got the perfect example for you guys. All right.
Let me hear the story.
So I was driving around in Clayton County, Georgia, and so one tactic they use is a speed trap. So this white police officer who was on a motorcycle was sitting at the bottom of the hill.
That's a good one.
Waiting for me to come.
Speed traps are good.
I'm not even a speeder, right? So anyway, he pulls me over, and he runs. So I just how I showed you, I have my ID in my hand or whatever, and I was like, he's like, roll down the window, and I was like, "Good afternoon, officer. How are you today?" I hit him with that, and he was
hit him with the code switch. Good day, madam and sir.
Right, but yeah. So good afternoon, officer. How you doing? And he was like, pretty much, he was like, do you know I pulled you over today? I'm like, clearly I don't, but yeah, no sir. So I hit him with the no sir, and then he was like, because you was doing this speed and this miles or whatever.
You was doing 5 over. You was doing a 35 and a 30.
Who knows? I'm actually in a suit. I'm actually headed to a community event. We had a celebrity basketball community event. I think T.I.'s son was in it, stuff like that.
You're dressed like one of the good ones.
Right. I'm dressed like one of the good ones. I ain't had these braids. You know these things fire. I ain't had these braids. I had low cut. I was looking like a proper black man. Like, you know the black man on LinkedIn?
Oh, shit.
That's what I was looking like. So anyway, good afternoon, officer. How you doing today? He was like, I'm glad you have your hands on the steering wheel. It's so many of y'all killing us.
Yikes.
I was like,
yikes.
and that's how I felt on the inside. I was like this.
Yikes.
But I had to maintain composure and be calm. Act like that shit didn't affect me. Like this white man with the gun and badge didn't just say some crazy shit. I was like, okay. I mean, what else could I say? And then so I was like, can I give you my ID now? He was like, yes. And I gave him the ID, and then he went back to his motorcycle. So you got to think, this officer was in a speeding trap. So he was sitting at the bottom of the hill waiting on people. So he's pulling people all...
Well, he wanted to get that ticket.
Right. So he was pulling people over all day, writing the same law. So when you write in a speeding law, it's going to be like OCGA, whatever the Georgia Code statute is. But it's the same number. That's what I'm getting at, right? So a little bit prior before this, I communicated to him, hey, officer, I'm going to the Clayton County charity basketball game so I can help set up for the kids. So he already know I'm in the community. You know, he can kind of tell from my conversation that I'm an intelligent black man and that I'm trying to do well in my community. So it goes back to the motorcycle, and then I'm just sitting there patiently, and like 30 minutes fly by, 45 minutes fly by, and around the 59-minute, 60-minute mark, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, it don't take, y'all get, when you get pulled over.
You were on the road for 60 minutes?
Yes, I was on the side of the road for like 60 minutes. And so I was like, what? I'm thinking in my head, like, what the hell going on? Like, I just communicated to this man, you know, what I got going on, community event. I'm in a suit. My hair is shaved down. I speak well. I speak like them. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, what's going on? So I'm like, so the next thing I do, I wouldn't recommend nobody to do this, but, you know, I already communicated to him. You know, I'm in the suit, whatever. I am very skilled in understanding the law. So anyway, so I get out the car.
You got out the car?
Yeah, I got out the car. So look, so I get out the car.
You did not.
And the officer was about 100 feet or so away from me. So it was at like a circular angle. What's the circular angle called?
That's how you get. Like I'm still stuck on you getting out of the car.
I like a banana. So he was like positioned like a banana from me. No. Dude, you messing up the story.
I'm outraged.
I got shot. You got
out the car?
Anyway, I get out the car, yeah. And so I get out the car, and so I take 2 steps. It's about 100 feet. 2 steps, about 1 or 2 feet. So I'm about 98 feet. And I'm like, excuse me, officer. And he doesn't hear me. So I'm like, okay. Excuse me, officer. So he doesn't hear me. And I do this a couple more times, so I'm about 50 feet or so away from him. Again, my hands are up. This was around the Black Lives Matter time, and I'm like this, and I'm in a suit. I'm like, excuse me, officer. And then, so basically, at this point, he finally acknowledges me. He looks up. He immediately draws his weapon and says, I have 3 seconds to get back into the car, or I'm going to jail. But what he was saying was, I got 3 seconds to get back in the car, or he gonna kill me.
Correct.
And it's just like, at the end of the day, my actions may or may not have been justified, but what I am saying to you is that if I was a white boy in that same situation, communicated what I was doing, where I was doing, I was in the suit, and had my hands up, he wouldn't have pulled his weapon. I believe he wouldn't have pulled his weapon.
I think that's true, but number one rule, all the kids at home, if you get pulled over, do not get out of your car.
And then so anyway, I go like this, and I take the steps back. Like, I go real slow, like... And then
so you were trying to rush him? You were like, yo, I hurry up, man. I got somewhere to be. No, that was the part. Why you got the car?
It's like the white man changing the story.
I'm asking, why did you get out the car though? Because
it's been an hour, bro. It take 5 to 10 minutes.
So I'm saying, you were like, yo, he need to hurry up. Let me get out the car and let him know.
It wasn't with that aggression.
No, I'm just saying, in your head, you were like, I'm going to get out the car and let him know he's taking off.
Context is important, and you messing up.
I know, but I'm just trying to understand what would make you get out the car.
1 hour of waiting.
So you want him to hurry up.
Are you the white man?
No, I'm not. I just
y'all.
listen,
He got white. He got
no. It's just that
he got white face on. Like
I'm
what?
never
What
getting
is
out of my
this?
car. But more power to you. I'm never getting out of my car. Though.
But anyway,
They gotta
so
drag me out that.
so I go like this real slow, and I walk back into the car, and basically, he come back to the car, and he was like, he act like nothing didn't happen. He gave back my ID, and I went on my way, and that was that.
You got a ticket?
Yeah, I got a ticket.
Yeah, that's what I would assume.
I'm
sorry to hear that, black man.
Yeah, and I got one more story.
Wait a minute.
So about a year later, so that was the white cop. It was a black cop. So I was in Clayton County. It was like down there in Clayton County, we got black politicians, but they like kind of like him. They got like they're like in white face. You know,
How am I in white face? I just told, it's not a good. I don't care if
Yeah.
you're white, black, orange,
Yeah,
Japanese, triangular, green, purple. When a cop pulls you over, do not get out of the car. That is the number one way for you to get shot or arrested.
I completely agree with what he's saying.
That's all I'm
But
saying.
I'm just trying to tell my story.
Yeah, but your story insisted that you got out of the car because you were tired of waiting. Not to say that it's your fault, but
Now
getting out of the car
listen
is
to
a
the
terrible
second
idea.
story.
It's a terrible
So
idea.
that was the first story with the white cop. So the second story was with the black cop. So at this point, I was in the city of Atlanta. So the culture, the politics, we got black mayor, black leadership, and these people are actually black excellence, and they believe in that. So they have police policies that are more fair and understandable of black people. So I'm in Atlanta, literally right by City Hall, and the light was yellow, but they said it was red. So anyway, he pulled me over for supposedly, allegedly running the light, and so
he's full in his right to do.
Same situation. He was actually another motorcycle cop. I don't know what it is with these motorcycle cops.
They
be
out tickets.
hiding or something.
The motorcycle cops give out tickets.
They be in the cut.
Yep.
So anyway, same thing. I got my hands on the steering wheel. I'm heading to work, so I got on a similar outfit. Same thing. LinkedIn, black man, looking fine, type. So anyway, so
is that your
pull over.
driving outfit?
I just happen to have on business cap. I always wore that back in the day.
All right.
So anyway, same thing. I got my hands on the steering wheel. I have my ID from the cup holder. I put it here. I'm like, "Good afternoon, officer. How you doing today?" And his response was, "You watch too many movies. You don't have to put your hands on the steering wheel." So that's a completely different interaction. That's just what happened with the white cop. And so I'm like, "Well, officer, you don't understand. The white cop was gonna kill, but he didn't even let me get all to that. He was like, I don't want to hit." And then, so I just gave him my ID. He wrote me a ticket. I beat that ticket because the light was yellow. And then that was it. He sent me on my way. So my point is that, yeah, it's just a different scenario. Like he said, first cop was like, "I'm glad you got your hands out the steering wheel. You guys are killing so much of us." Black cop is like, "Why do you have," like, basically kind of like, "Why do you have your hands on the steering wheel? You watch too many movies." That is the whole racist conversation that we are talking about while we were driving while black. And this has to be addressed. And we're going to have to get together and do what black people do best.
Well, I think the easiest way to combat this is to get into the courthouse on the county level, state level, and make sure you fight against quotas. Because a lot of what you describe, especially the speed trap, is about police quotas, right? And listen, I think before I jump into quotas, I do want to make the mention that the reason why there is an abuse of power.
Oh, and also real quick, when I came back, the white cop actually had another person pulled over. So clearly he's just in the speed trap.
He's in the speed trap getting his quota on.
Escalate situations probably still. Probably had another gun aimed at another black person because the county's 70% black. So let's be real. Like, was I justified in getting out of the car? Maybe, maybe not. But at the end of the day, if I was white, he wouldn't have had his gun.
I agree with that. But I think the reason why the cops have that notion, the same reason why he was like, "Y'all are killing more of us," because it's unfortunate, but the cops like to put this on and blame the war on drugs. And they just assume if you're a black man, you come from nothing, you don't have anything. The only way you can make money is selling drugs or being in a gang or doing something crazy. So when they go out and patrol, they have this misguided and overstepped call it look or view, this stereotype into black men and women that really has a misguided notion of who black people are, what black people do. You just heard from Mr. Trump, they talked about stealing black jobs. I don't even know what a black job is, but I know if I got pulled over,
it's a job that don't pay good.
Right. If I got pulled over running late for my black job and I was speeding, the cop is probably more interested in what I have in the car or who I am versus my black job. So it really gets into the scenario where they're blaming, call it the stereotype or the prototype of who in their head they think a black man is. You could have a suit on. They're still going to be like, he put that suit on to trick me. Because I think in their mind, and I'm saying that because the history of police is to catch niggas. So like that has been ingrained as systematically in racism in our organizations, and the police is no different. And I think that when we talk about this, it is an interesting fact that by the age 35, 50% of black men have been arrested. Are you 35? That means one of us has been arrested. It doesn't matter who, but that stat carries on and says that of the ones who are arrested, 35% of them are convicted. And of the ones that have been convicted, 25% of them have been incarcerated for over a year or still are incarcerated.
And that's crazy because actually when I was like 18 or 17, I was watching CNN, and CNN was like 1 in every 3 black men would be arrested.
100%.
And I looked at just being naive and really not understanding how the world was working. I was like, that'll never be me.
Driving while black, It will be you. But I think it's something that's interesting too. I was asking you earlier if you had been searched. And the reason why I was asking that is because of the stops, right? Black folks are 115% more likely to be searched than a white person in a traffic stop.
He didn't search me because I had on the suit. He knew I wasn't playing any role.
Maybe. But the interesting thing about that is that ironically, contraband, and for those who don't know, contraband is anything illegal, drugs, weapons, whatever. Contraband is actually almost 2 times more likely to be found in a white person's vehicle than in a black person's vehicle. So really, and that stereotype goes because if black folks know they're gonna get pulled over, I'm definitely not gonna carry nothing. But if white folks know, probably might not get pulled over. They probably have a higher chance of carrying something illegal.
Quick tip. They got a little $7 car wash, $10 car wash. Just go there and vacuum your stuff out. That way you ain't have no little weed buzz, no little cigarillos. Y'all cars be nasty. And it be smelling like blunt spray, bro. Everybody know what blunt spray is. It's 2024. We got Google. Everybody, rappers be having in the video. Like, come on, bro. Blunt spray, at least use some cologne or something. Or use some body Axe. At least my homie, back in the day, he used to use Axe spray. Remember Axe spray?
Axe spray is not gonna get the weed smell.
Well, it works.
If you roll that window down and the police says, "I smell marijuana," get out the car. It's probable cause to get searched. So
I ain't gonna go into the story, but
do what he's saying.
It was a story where they actually did pull us out the car and they said it smelled like weed, and then they searched the whole car. It was no weed in there. It was 5 black guys on the edge of the sidewalk. Like, these police is really like targeting you. You know, like it's constant. Like, I have a lot of ignorant black friends that say, "Well, I'm not doing anything wrong." I'm like, oh, Jesus.
So that's the point, though,
ignorant.
Right? So
that has nothing to do with it.
It doesn't. But I think it's interesting you say, quote, "I'm not doing anything wrong." Well, the reason why that is kind of an ignorant mindset to think is you have to really understand that at the core, right, America is all about the economics. So when we talk about quotas, and these are a couple examples. Police quotas, this is an example from Dallas. An investigation found out that there was a special program that was called the Selective Traffic Enforcement Program that required officers to make 4 traffic contacts an hour. Those with the end of that period ended up getting a promotion and a pay raise. That's nuts. Here's another example. 2005 in Los Angeles, right? There was a complaint
from the first city.
That was Dallas.
It
was on and on. And police quotas are illegal in, I don't know, probably half the country, but there's some states like Ohio. Ohio has, then everyone knows about it, a police quota, and the police quotas for traffic. So in Los Angeles, since 2005, there has been more than $10 million paid out to officers who have made complaints against the city of LA, requiring them to comply with ticket quotas, because ticket quotas are illegal in California, yet people still run them off the books. They call them like your point system. In Atlanta, there's a point system. Those cops who have higher points that write more tickets end up getting favorable outcomes, or they benefit. They may be able to patrol a more desirable area, or they may not have to do the church let out, whatever. If you have more points or you write more tickets, you get more benefits.
And wait, guys. So are you guys starting to see the pattern, the observation? Where LA, that has a lot of black folks in that city.
Well, I don't think it matters where you are, though.
Hear me out. So we got LA, a lot of black folks in that city. Dallas, we got a lot of black folks in that city. These cities have huge funding towards the police department because these cities have a lot of black folks, and these are where these quotas happen, and that's why it's over policed on black people, because we are a vulnerable population. Like, we're not like a protected group. They try with the civil rights, but I mean, we see today, we don't know how much of that gets enforced and through law, because we don't have the right people there to enforce that, or we don't have the right attorneys who actually practice civil law. Because to get justice in this country, essentially what you have to do, you have to file a lawsuit. And when you file a lawsuit, two things happen. One, they acknowledge that they're wrong. Well, a couple things happen. They acknowledge that they're wrong. Two, you may get compensated for your damages. And three, that will prompt potential changes in the law because of unjust things and Supreme Court changes and sending back to the state to get
and all that costs money
and things of that nature.
So I think you're 100% right. But the only thing that I was saying is that I don't think it matters major city, because what you're describing is in every city in America, in every state, there's a hood. There's a nigga in North Dakota who got pulled over driving while black.
Have more police presence, and they're overly policed.
Well, why though, right?
Quotas, think about that. 4 in an hour for one police officer.
But no, some of it is even worse. In the LA example I gave you, they required at least 18 traffic tickets per shift that required 80% of them to account for major violations. Right. That is wild. The thing that you're getting to is that why does this over police happen in our community? You hit it on the head. The summation of it is that the black community, unfortunately, is a vulnerable population that does not have the resources to fight against the system. Because if you pull over a white person, and this is not me just saying like, oh man, on a macro level, white people have the money for lawyers. They got the money to fight the cases. They got the money to go to the courthouse. They got the money to make sure they have good lawyers and the outcomes are more favorable. But what that does is that stops the county from getting paid. The city doesn't get paid. The clerks don't get paid. The judges don't get paid. The police departments don't get paid. And if I am trying to fund the majority of my budget through tickets and citations, and I have a quota, I'm going to go after the population that doesn't have the resource to fight it. So unfortunately, we are not able to stop, let's call it over predators or super predators or over policing, because on a macro level, black folks just don't have the resources to fight the police and stop them from over policing. And that's what it really comes down to. It's unfortunate, but the examples keep going on.
Well, quick tip then. Just throw another tip. So that just really means get y'all ish together. You need to get your credit right. You need to
100%
get disciplined, start budgets, start
100%.
saving. You got to pay yourself first, even if it's just like 5% out of your check going to a savings account that you can't touch right away, like, or you don't have a debit card. Y'all have to start using, you have to start saving, because we've always been known for making a dollar into, what's the saying, how the saying goes?
Turn a dime into a dollar?
Yeah, nah, but
we can stretch our money, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
A dollar out of
15 cents.
That's what
Thank
it
you,
is.
Molly.
Turn a dollar out of 15
You could turn a dollar out of 15 cents. So that's what we got to do. And then we could turn that dollar into money to hire representation so that we can at least get justice if we are wrong. Because realistically, we're not going to be able to stop police racial profiling and getting pulled over for driving
while black. But I think on a macro level, we will
at least get justice on the back end. And that looks like compensation. That looks like acknowledgement. That looks like people starting to tell your stories, because it's not just like you're guilty and nobody listens to a guilty person. But when you actually fight, you take the time to fight, then people will start to realize like, okay, these are some injustices.
That's what I mean. So on a macro level, the way we fight and beat driving while black is taking care of our finances. Black people can protect our communities by taking care and prioritizing our economies. That is the truth and example. And it's funny because I pulled this quote from Floyd versus City of New York. And this is the decision against stop and frisk. Quote, get those numbers and crush the fucking city. While reminding officers, quote, they're not working Midtown Manhattan where people are walking around smiling and happy. You're working in Bed-Stuy where everyone's probably got a warrant. Crazy. So exactly what you just described is exactly what's going on, because on a macro level, if we don't have the money for the lawyers, we can't fight the convictions, and the system's going to keep getting paid.
Or become the lawyer. Go to law school.
Here's the other crazy part. I want to put it in
one person in your family.
I want to put it in perspective, right? Law enforcement having quotas is People are like, oh, it's a quote, not a big deal. They're incentivized to do their job. No, it's fucking terrible. If the fire department had quotas, they would
go burn.
They would be burning down buildings every day. Like, oh, Captain said we got to save a fire today.
Yeah,
Nkosi, bring the matches. And I gotta look at the camera.
I'm not going to incriminate myself.
Agencies
on
having
camera.
quotas to do their job is crazy. If the fire department had quotas, they would be burning up buildings
because they trying to keep their jobs and they trying to provide for their family.
Bingo.
So it's not necessarily always about racism, but I mean.
So look, it ends up being a lot about it. But on a high level, though, in America,
the policy was created to enforce systematic racism.
Well, like you said, it started as slave patrols and slave catchers. To wrap this up, though, for perspective, because I want just to put this in there, we got to wrap this up and get out of here. I'm going to ask you, how many traffic stops do you think happen every day?
Across the United States?
Across the United States.
Well, I know in Georgia there are over 300 cities. There are over 150 counties. Mm-hmm. And so I'm assuming there are probably 3,000 cities. Or
50,000 traffic stops happen a day.
That sounds about right.
Nuts. More than 20 million people get stopped every year. Traffic citation revenue per officer in America averages about $300,000. That is crazy. So because of that, we're not going to see driving while blocks happen anytime soon unless we take care of our economy to prevent this from happening, because it's nuts, it's crazy. So be safe, America. All my black folks, if you're going to be driving, do like Nkosi, put your best LinkedIn face on and pay your bills. So that's really it.
I did have one more thing though.
Go ahead.
Don't forget about the lie to kick it.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say you got the lie to kicking of the day. What is it, man?
We gotta talk about this one. It's definitely related to the thing.
Go ahead.
An AP investigation found that hundreds of deadly police encounters, officers broke multiple safety guidelines, not once or twice, but multiple times. We got a situation where after AP did some digging, they found that the officers breached the guidelines of 3 more ways in about 440 deaths.
Most people are not trying to fight the police or resist arrest. And I always see those videos where it's like, stop resisting, and the person just like on the floor getting their face smashed in.
Right. Like unfortunately, like our brother George Floyd.
Right.
And so even with that, like police have been on notice since the 1990s about the risk of pinning someone on their chest,
and they
what
keep
is known
doing
as the
it.
prone position.
Yeah,
and they
that's
still
crazy.
doing it 30 plus years later. They're still doing the same thing. They don't care about no DOJ. They don't care about no federal government.
I mean, that's not, you got to survive. You want to sue.
They still doing it.
Yeah.
Like, and
well, I mean, that's unfortunate. It's enough of that lie. At the end of the day, if the cops tell you to get out the car, it's unfortunate. You kind of got to get out the car. Or if they tell you to get on your knees, hands around the back, you don't really have a choice. You can fight them later in court. But enough of that lie. I'm over that. But I wanted to show some love before we get out of here. Love light of the day. It's actually related to this topic. Listen, if you get pulled over and you're dealing with some unfortunate, stop and frisk, or somebody violates your rights, showing love to my dog, Justin Miller, Stuart Miller Simmons. Go out there. It's an attorney, great attorney. It's really our love of the day.
shout out to Jay Miller.
Jay Miller will get you right. If you need some help, you need an attorney, you need legal advice, call my man. We'll drop his
Wasn't
info
that
below.
George Floyd's attorney?
That's why I thought of it. You got to shout him out. Justin Miller was George Floyd's attorney.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of this baked in. They'll know what to do.
Maybe we can get him on the show one day.
We'll have Jay Miller up here next. But I think that's it, man. I don't have much else unless you got something else, Mr. LinkedIn driver.
I've said my piece.
You were really upset about that, getting out the car.
I was upset that my brother
Put a gun on you. Listen, I've had a gun pulled on me by police, but that's another topic for another story.
I wasn't upset. He's like changing the story like the white man.
All right, that's all we got. My name is Charles Bourgeois, the People's Champ, kissing baby, shaking hands, or shaking babies and kissing hands. And I'm checking out with
Brother Nkosi. I love y'all. Thank y'all. We appreciate y'all. Peace.